Ladies and gentlemen, this is Howard Finkel, and welcome to WrestleMania by Midway. Bret the Hitman Hart. Tonight in the squared circle, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Bret the Hitman Hart. What's this?
Released in 1995 by Midway, right at the peak of WrestleMania fever, came the arcade game. The game features digitized representations of 8 WWF performers, as well as commentary provided by Vince Mahon and Jerry Lawler. Howard Finkel welcomes players to WrestleMania at the start screen. Being a wrestling game, you'd expect this to be rather slow, when in fact it's extremely fast and quite hectic. The game features 2 single-player modes, the Intercontinental Championship and the WWF Championship. In the Intercontinental Championship mode, the player must win 4 one-on-one matches, 2 handicaps 2-on-1 matches, and 1 handicap 3-on-1 match to win the title. In the more difficult WWF Championship mode, the player must win 4 handicap 2-on-1 matches, 2 handicap 3-on-1 matches, and finally a WrestleMania challenge, where the player must defeat every wrestler in the game in a gauntlet, starting with a 3-on-1 setup, with each eliminated opponent being replaced with another until all 8 have been defeated. WWF WrestleMania was an extremely popular arcade and home game that millions of people love. Me personally, well, I'm one of those miserable buggers who can't stand it. But I can see why people love it so much. There are 6 ports of WWF WrestleMania the arcade game, so let's start off with the Sega Mega Drive port. Straight away I'm going to comment on the crappy looking graphics and small character sizes, but hey, this is to be expected due to the limited colour palette of the Mega Drive, and that it's not as powerful as the arcade hardware. Then there's the typical god-awful audio that all games using American developed sound drivers sound like. Horrible, shrill, twangy audio. But on the plus side, the game does feature most of the speech found in the arcade game. The game also plays better than the arcade game because it now supports the Mega Drive's 6-button pad, making access to moves much more player friendly now. In fact, the game plays really well. It even has up to 4 players on screen with no slowdown whatsoever. If you can get over the rough looks and nasty sound, then the Mega Drive port is actually very good. The 32X port is kind of a mixed bag. It looks much better than the stock Mega Drive, making use of the vastly superior colour palette on offer. It also makes use of the 32X's PCM sound hardware to deliver much cleaner speech samples. Unfortunately, the music is identical to the stock Mega Drive version. The biggest difference, and a pretty poor one as far as gameplay is concerned, is the frame rate. Every version of WWF WrestleMania runs at 60 frames per second, except this one. For some reason, this 32X port runs at 30 frames per second. But hey, at least there's no slowdown. Here we go with the Super Nintendo port. Obviously this is going to be compared to the Mega Drive and 32X versions, so how does it stack up? At first, things are looking good. The colours and sprite size are vastly superior to the Mega Drive, and maybe even better looking than the 32X version as well. Unfortunately, this is where the good points end. Bam Bam Bigelow and Yokozuna are now missing, probably because they were the biggest sprites. But why would that be a problem? Well, you see, even with just 2 characters on screen, the Super Nintendo shows signs of slowing down constantly throughout the match. You'll also notice that the crowd isn't as well animated. However, play in the Intercontinental Championship mode and you'll see some major slowdown. The game runs at almost half speed, plus all the animation has been removed from the background, plus you can't have 4 characters on screen. Only 3 are supported. This port also lacks several voice and commentary samples, and damage taken by in-game fighters from attacks was reduced. Overall, this is not a very good port.
Boom shakalaka! Nicely done. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Howard Finkel, and welcome to WrestleMania.
Finally, we get to the ports that matter the most in most people's opinion. Here is the PlayStation port with graphics that seem to look a lot cleaner than the actual arcade original. There's nothing extra in this port, unfortunately. We still have the same 2 game modes and the same 8 characters. Still, I guess we could say it's practically the arcade game in the home. Next up we have the MS-DOS port, supporting what seems to be way more animation than the PlayStation version. However, the characters don't look as nice, and boy, does it move jerkily or what. This is not a smooth game by any means, using the default recommended settings. Some may prefer the not so smooth motion as a trade-off for the extra animation, while I'm sure most would not. Which would you rather have?
What would they think? Nicely done. Look at them! I didn't see it! I wouldn't believe it! What was he thinking? What's this?
Let's finish up with the Saturn port. What we have here is basically the same as the PlayStation version. There's not much more to say, really.
What kind of cheap move was that? What a jerk! To the face! In the ring! To the face! Listen to the crowd! Oh! Listen to the crowd! That was cheap! Doink! Look at this!
And let's take a look at all those versions of WWF WrestleMania, the arcade, running side by side.